Welcome to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show.
This is another TA Fishing vlog. Now, Dad likes fishing in the margins. Every time I'm fishing with him, he'll never neglect the margins, especially when it's bait fishing.
Pike fishing, I love my twitch sprat. And not only do I like fishing in the margins, I like fishing at places other anglers' baits can't reach. This might be a tip for you pike anglers. Now, another way you can cast along those margins to look close in for the pike is by the Barnes-Wallis bouncing sprat technique. It's really like skimming a stone. Now you can't do it with fish like, say, a dead bait that's wider in the body. You need what's called a laterally compressed body. Herrings, too big. Sprat, ideal, thin and flat. And you can skim those underneath bushes where there's overhangs. That saves you running the risk of tangling your line. Don't forget, you're on a 15-pound line, minimum I would say piking. If you get up a tree, you might, I'll get it back, you might not. You don't want to leave anything up the tree. So there could be, I can't tell you how many pike I've caught by skimming baits and getting them into pockets or holes that were absolutely impossible to cast into. I'll show you how I do it. So for any margin fishing, I just like using a standard VB hook, can be just a big size 2 carp hook, and one SSG shot, just to give me a bit of sinkability so I can twitch it and pop it back. Now what you've got to do with the cast is, get your bail arm open, you're going to cast it, just think of skimming a stone down at the seaside. Low like this, but you've got to build up enough velocity to make it skim, otherwise it just kaplunks with a big splash straight into the water, won't skim. In fact, might even break up or just spook the pike. So you've got to get it skimming, and this is how I do it. Now the distance between the first ring, which was the impact point, and the end one is probably about 8 feet further that I wouldn't have got had I not been able to cast by skimming that bait. I'll show you again. The secret to skimming that bait is actually using a very short drop to your rod top. I'm just off the length of the trace. If you have it too long, as you start to accelerate, it could clip the water in front of you, and that'll slow it right up. So keep it 5 or 6 inches off the end of your trace, so you're no more than about 20 inches from the hook. Well, wait a minute. It looks like the man's setting the hook on a pike. All that casting, trying to show you guys how to skip that bait across the surface, reaching underneath the bushes, underneath the overhangs, has paid off. Although I was only doing it to show you guys, I actually got a take. Yeah, I know, even I was shocked, I have to say. I was trying to do it just to show you some film footage, and there we are. Decent little pike, cannot grumble. Well, it's the way to go.
Now surely you didn't really expect to catch that pike.
Not really, but listen, you've got to be in it to win it, guys. You've got to get that bait in the water, you've got to get that sprat twitched and do that skimming.
Now we get a lot of questions on TA Fishing, especially towards Graeme, about whether you prefer pike fishing in lakes or pike fishing in rivers.
That's true, it's true. And if I had to be honest, although you would generally, possibly on average, get a bigger pike out of lakes, I mean bigger than 20 pound on gravel pits and stuff like that, the bigger pike tend to come out there. Good river pike as well. I do like fishing the rivers, and the reason being, I find it's probably easier to target the fish. You know what I mean? Looking for the pools, the slacks. You've done some down at on the Lower River Stour.
Yes, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually work out slacks. Because on a lake, if you can't see through the water, you don't know really what's underneath there, do you? With a river, I'm going to show you some clips, even some possible good fishing spots. Now look here. There's moving water pouring out of that little weir there, but just where I'm zooming the camera in, you can see those bubbles. Now look, that's peculiar. They're going a lot slower. That's what you want to look for, telltale signs. You're looking for something slower for pike. They do not like really beltingly fast water. Hey, what's this there? Either a log or a sheet of tin or maybe a tree falling over. It looks like a sheet of sort of tin there to me. That's going to slow the current as well. That's going to make it slack behind. That could hold bait fish. And look at the bubbles. They're actually going upstream, people. That's going against the flow. So it's going to show you there. That piece of tin's caused a back eddy over here underneath these leaves. It makes a shaded area. The pike and all the bait fish will lay under there. Drop a bait in there as close to it as you can. Twitch baits I'm talking about. And there again, a fallen tree. Don't go too close to these because you don't know how far the branches stick out underneath the water. Let's face it, you don't want to get snagged. Oh my God, look at that slack there. Oh, I've got to get a bait in there. Got the pike on, guys, got the pike on. Right over by that. There he is. A nice river pike. He was right over where I said he was going to snag. I've got a small net, he's just barely hanging on. No idea whether I'll get him in the net or not. Fingers crossed, eh? I'm going to go on back one this time. He's hanging by a thread. The current's got him as well. There we go. One pike, twitch sprat, just in the scissors. Lucky. Just let me show you where he's hooked. He's a thin looking one. Probably would have gone, oh, the hook's fallen out. Nice long pike. Man, he would have been 10 pound. I'll tell you why he was tricky to catch. Let's get him up there. I'd say this pike here is going blind, and that's why he's thin. Because on the other side, let me come around this side, just show you there if you can see his eye, sort of milkiness about it. I mean, maybe there's something in the water, who knows, it might be a natural thing, but really pleased with that pike. Does it work? Yes.
Well, that was one strange looking pike, I have to admit.
It's like a sausage. Yeah. And blind as well. Yeah. Definitely, I think he was blind to a bad eyesight. I had a hell of a job trying to get it to take a bait, but there you go. I got it.
Yeah, so that's a small river. What about bigger rivers?
Well, the same principle applies. Bigger rivers, obviously, you're going to have to look more, use your polarising glasses, and try and find those areas. Now, what I do, if there's a lot of weed, is I'm using my polarising glasses, and I go along trying to spot different areas in the river. Even on a big river, you've got to find, look, weed beds, slacks, pockets, and what we call it, it's a link. The Americans started it, we didn't start it. I think they use it for largemouth bass fishing in between weeds. It's called pocket fishing. You're dropping your lure generally in a very small area trying to nail a fish that's individual. It's the same principle, and it's applied here on, yes, a big southern river. Now here you can see this, a wide river. There's a lot of streamer weed. I mean a lot of streamer weed in there. It's just at the start of what we call the pike fishing season, so there's not enough frost to kill that weed off, but there are still pockets. Now if I just zoom in slowly, you'll see there's fast water in the foreground, but just over there, right behind that weed bed, there's a tiny, what we're going to say, 4 foot square slack. Now if you can fire a bait into that, it's going to go down and sink and then twitch it back across the top. I would generally call that pocket fishing with about a 5-second hit zone. Once I get out of that pocket, I'm going to be pulling the bait towards the weed. So you just wind in, repeat the procedure, and then just move on until you can find yourself another pocket. And there is another little gap just down here between the rushes which the pike will like to lie against and the first bed of streamer weed to the right. The benefit here is, because the current pulls the bait, the sprat, straight, you can actually twitch it and hold it in the one position. Just letting it go about a foot below the surface. And then just let the current do the work with the occasional twitch of the rod top. any drag on the end, just wind in slowly. Check the bait, because if there's a piece of weed like that on there, they won't take it. Now, move on. 2 or 3 casts, each pocket, keep moving. Over here, as you can see, there's a channel between bright green live streamer weed and the weed that's dying off, starting to die off that bed. So just at the back, watch the speed of the bubbles. There's a slack there, just right in there. That's definitely worth putting a bait, because those pike will lie in there waiting for some small fish just to swim past, basically their face, and they're going to whiz out and grab it. So you can get a very violent take doing this. I just happen to see another fish in the water here. Does anybody know what this one is? That is, I believe, looking through the lens there, a sea trout. I'm sorry guys, I don't have a polarizing lens for my camera, but obviously when I'm wearing polarizing glasses I can see absolutely everything. There's a better shot, and what a beautiful fish. That is a nice sea trout just lying there on station. Now that's almost what a pike looks like. He lies on station, he doesn't move very much. Obviously these guys aren't going to take a twitch sprat. You probably need worms or maggots or even a fly. But look at that, over there, there's a fish. Now, initially I thought that was a pike laying there just underneath the weed. It could be a salmon, it could be a large sea trout, because they get sea trout 10 pounds on in this particular river. But there's a shape there, so anytime you see a big shape, look for the tail fins of the pike. Most of the tail fins will show up on the pike, and a narrow head will be very static. Here, right behind this swirling fast water, there's a dead zone. Look at it. Nice slack water, about 5 feet, and a tiny little pocket there. I'm hoping you guys can see it, but it's very, very swirly. But the back end of the weed is where you can let a bait bounce down. If I pull back on the camera, you can see in the foreground, yes, there's a slack. See the smooth water? It's just enough for me to twitch that bait through slowly. Now you might only get 4 to 6 feet out of that. It's a matter of 5 to 10 seconds worth of bait zone, I'm going to call it, but it's worth doing. Now just down in here, lovely little slack, very, very shallow, very shallow. It could hold a big pike. It's more than likely, if it holds anything, it's going to hold perch and or a jack. Well, I've got to put a bait in there to find out, haven't I? And there you go. I've got to pick up right under the bank, close the bail arm. He's right down there eating the bait. Just going to wind down and come on, Graeme, strike it, strike it. Fish on, guys. Now look at the main river out in the background, and look how close I've caught that fish in that little pocket there. Don't neglect right under your feet. I've had some really good fishing. I'm not going to say I've had lots of 20 pounders doing this, but I've had a lot of good average fish. This is only a small pike. Fishing in close like this. It's just one of those areas that the more you do it, the more you'll get used to knowing where pike actually lie, especially in the river. And I actually find the rivers quite easy to read. Little jack pike there, little mini one. Be honest, that's almost the size that another big pike would eat. But we're going to slip him back, and there he goes off like a little missile, which is what he is. Uh-oh, second take. He's just peeling a little bit of line off. Check that drag. Adjusting up a bit. Gonna wind down carefully, and when I feel the weight of that pike, I'm gonna set the hook. Whack. Fish on, set the hook. I'm hooked up. Oh my god, he's pulled off. Well, it's just as well the sound's off, because the language isn't good, is it? Never is, but you gotta expect to lose a few fish. Here we go again, looking at the back end of this fast riffle. I think they call it in America. We call it ripples. But it channels any food down there. If the small fish are going to be down the back of that, so too will the predators be. So don't neglect places. You're very, very unlikely to get pike in that fast water, but you could get them on the slower water below it. another pocket fish. Nailed me absolutely virtually as soon as he took it. Just sunk down through the water and I felt the bump. So there we go. One last look at him. Big old jaws, not a big pike, but I feel, because there's so much weed in the river, that pocket fishing definitely pulled me 3 fish that I might not otherwise have had, just snags. But I put this one in the net to get it back in the water. Well, here we go, people. I've found a little pocket of weed below that bridge. There was indeed Mr. Pike in occupation, in residence there. Managed to get him hooked up. Didn't actually see the fish, just knew that that was a good area worth trying. And here we go, hooked up to a decent sized pike. Well, he looks like he's got some major attitude. A nice pike there on the twitch sprat. Took me a while to find it just at the back of this bridge, right by the road bridge here, but good looking fish. Gave me a great scrap. I didn't have time to get the big camera to get that, to use a head cam, but I've been like an hour with nothing, and it was just below the bridge. I thought, just keep twitching and twitching and twitching. Sooner or later something's going to take it, and so it did. Well, I'm glad I moved swims and just keep watching for those slacks, eddies, anything that looks a little bit different. Let's get it back.
Well, I have to admit, that's some pretty good pike fishing you had there, both small and big rivers.
Yeah.
Now I get a lot of questions as well. Do you ever relax, Dad? Do you ever, from the fishing, do you ever stop the fishing and do you ever relax?
Very, very rarely. And I tell you what I do like is photography. The camera goes everywhere.
It does, yeah.
And one thing I did want to do, the wife suddenly sprung on me a trip to somewhere I had wanted to go. She's heard me talking about it, hadn't she? That?
Yeah.
Palma in the Canary Islands. I've done all the other islands, done fishing there, marlin fishing and that sort of thing, but hadn't been to Palma. Why do I want to go there? Because I like stuff like this. Volcanic rock that actually came from a volcano. It was cool when I picked it up, by the way. So I wanted to go there and see La Palma, because what they're saying is that if the west side of La Palma slides into the water, the whole mountainside, the tidal wave, right, tsunami, is so big it will wipe out the entire eastern seaboard of the States.
Wow.
For miles inland.
Yeah.
The biggest thing ever, and they say it is going to happen. Bit like you guys in America must sit there going, is Yellowstone going to blow tonight? Who knows? But I wanted to be over there. Of course, I would have loved it if it all fallen in the water and I got the camera running. So, here's some clips. It's not fishing, guys. If you want to click off, click off. But there's some nice shots here. If you want to learn a little bit about La Palma and what it's got to offer, might just get you booking a trip over there. And as you can see, a lot of the sloping ground towards the bottom end of the island, that's where everybody wants to live. Well, everybody except my wife. No, she's not going to stay in a bushcraft place, is she? She wants to stay in a nice hotel like this. Oh dear, all that water. And trust me, I did look in there and make sure there was absolutely no fish in there. A stunning view across the bay there. It was a nice little hotel we stayed at, and views with the mountain backdrop behind us. It was indeed a very, very picturesque place. So you can see by the wide amount of vegetation that this island has, and possibly equal degrees of rain and sunshine. Now vegetation grows really green like this without some rainfall, and there's different areas of what can I describe it, vegetation down near the coast. Obviously it's a lot drier. The further you come up the mountainside like this, then you're going to start to see trees that will be from the bottom end where the sea is, I guess, to about, let's call it halfway up the mountains. Then you're going to get the big banana plantations. The further up the mountain you go, the more dry, the more rugged it gets, unless you get right to the top of the mountain range and you get there, it can be beautiful, but it can also be very cloudy and drizzly. The reason for this being that parts of the island are dry and parts of the island actually draw moisture in the shape of clouds. And I think it's this moisture, the clouds in the air, as well as the rainfall, that creates a pine forest. A lot of pine grows near the top of the islands, right up out of this valley, up near the top. In fact, while I'm taking this, yes indeed, there's water on the lens, it's raining. But what a stunning view when you get to the top. We weren't actually at the top, it's just as high as we could drive with a rental car. And you can see a change there from the palm trees, the flowers, more to the pine forest. And just how nature gets everything to survive, I find, is amazing. Now look how far up above me this mountain range grows, and just look how big the trees are. That is like something out of Jurassic Park, is it not? It's massive. There's growth of trees in the most weird places, and it's due, I believe, to the moisture from these clouds. Yes, rain going across, but the fact they get moisture-laden clouds enables plants, bushes, shrubs, trees like this to grow on places they perhaps shouldn't be growing. And look at that rock on the end. Yes, I wanted to push that one off. Here you can see the tiniest little gap that these big trees grow on. I mean, all the way up there, you can see going higher and higher up there, you'll see the occasional tree that's managed to cling to life. And what I want to know is, how old are these trees? Because it must have taken them years to get that big in that type of harsh environment. And as you drop back down, you can see that precipitation indeed in the shape of this rainbow that's gone from the pine forest up in the mountains down over the palm trees further down in the valley. Indeed, it's a sign of luck, but no, I still wasn't fishing.
Well, I have to admit, that is some pretty impressive scenery, Dad. Now, I've only taught geography to younger children, really, but from what I do know about it is that the soil around volcanoes is very, very rich in nutrients. And I can see, actually, there's obviously a lot of greenery in these shots, but there's also, I saw some plantations, was it banana plantations or something like that? Is that people that have lived in that cave?
Yeah, absolutely. Underneath that huge ledge, they must have lived under there in the Jurassic period and eaten bananas.
So a lot of the farmland is generally near the base of the volcano, but I've also noticed there's a lot of coniferous trees on this island, and to me that says that the soil content is very acidic, because they do like that acidic soil content.
Oh really?
Yeah, so that's something that's quite interesting there.
And there is indeed a volcano that's extinct, and there's plenty on there. And listen, there's a person walking along there.
Tiny,
you won't
isn't it?
see it tiny. It is a massive volcano.
And look at the sharp lava formations that you've got here.
And this is what I'm talking about. This could be the last lava eruption on this island. It's brand new. Well, new theoretically in thousands, maybe millions of years, but very, very jagged, very rough. Quite impressive. And all this is quite dense, and it's very, very sharp. Very sharp. Been on other islands fishing, and this stuff will cut you to pieces if you fall on it. A massive bank of lava, mate. I don't know what that was. That's probably 30 feet tall up there.
I'll tell you what's quite interesting, Dad. I noticed there's lots of trees there growing at the bottom of the crater.
Yeah, I found that interesting. I didn't know why that was.
It could be because of the rainfall, and it's filtering the rainfall almost down into that volcanic crater there, and then that way there's more moisture there for the trees to grow. Because there's not much light, really.
There's not. And look how far away that guy is.
It's tiny, isn't it?
Don't jump, it's not worth it. That is a big volcano. And listen, there's not one boy that didn't want to push that rock over.
Yeah.
I was desperate to, because it was like a vertical drop. And look how far away that village is down there.
And that shows you as well how far the lava flow goes from the actual crater.
Well, they built that on a lava flow, haven't they?
Yeah, they've levelled it out, yeah.
The fishing village there. And they got plantations everywhere, but I can't tell you, I was absolutely desperate just to push that rock off the edge, like naughty boys do. And there you go, that's down the side of the volcano. But they're not on the top, those plants. They're all down inside the volcano.
It must be due to moisture, I'd say.
It's got to be either that cloud or relief, but pretty rugged landscape there. And you can see what it looks like. Would that be a burnt-out volcano?
It's another crater, I think, over there, yeah.
Like another burnt-out one, yeah. But pretty impressive. But listen, guys, I don't think the health and safety in England would let us go walking along the volcano like we did there. And there's exactly what you said. Massive, massive banana plantations there.
Because of that soil, rich soil nutrients.
But would they put that covering over them for, it's like plastic, it's 15 feet high. It's a lot taller than it looks. Is that to keep the sun off them or keep the moisture in? What do you reckon?
Probably moisture in. I'm not sure. It looks like a very dry climate there, so I'm not sure on the amount of rainfall they get. So to me, I'd say that's keeping moisture in. And it probably as well, keeping it a consistent temperature.
And look where they build, people absolutely don't waste an inch. Right on the edge of a magnificent cliff. Don't feel sorry for the banana pickers. Feel sorry for the builder that had to build the wall. Now I was absolutely amazed, if not gobsmacked, by the huge number of banana plantations. And they have, I believe these are the flowers. I'm not even sure it's male or female to these bananas, but you can see there, they're actually what they call a hand of bananas there. But they're so big and so heavy that they have to have poles to prop them up when they're this big. And how many bananas are on that one, I'm going to call it a hand? There are, well, there's got to be hundreds on just that one. And for some reason they put blue plastic bags around the outside of the bananas. I'm not quite sure whether that's to ripen them or to retard the ripening. I'm not actually sure myself, to be honest. Somebody will be able to tell us. Meanwhile, I'm going to hit the next village with my rental car. Tell you what, I don't much fancy their traffic wardens if this is what you get when you double park your car.
Interestingly, it also looks like the beach itself has black sand.
It was, yeah, it's peculiar. See, the wife didn't want to go on there at all. She thought she should get covered in tar and oil. But it is just black grains of powdered lava, I guess. It's actually been ground up by the action of the ocean. Right, tell me what this is, Mr. Geology.
I don't know geology too well. I know geography, but my geology is not too good. But there's definitely iron? Two completely different types of rock there almost, isn't there?
Well, down on the lower side, I found it interesting. Most of the vegetation is below that strata line and the others was over the top. And you see, there is the wall that they say the entire island is going to collapse. Straight over the banana plantations, down into the ocean. Next stop, the wave's going to hit the eastern seaboard of the States. If you don't believe me, guys, Google it up.
Well, being that I love my geography, I have to admit that was a really interesting segment that you got there from La Palma.
It was, I enjoyed that. So guys, thanks for watching the Totally Awesome Fishing Show.
Don't forget the TA Outdoors as well, Totally Awesome Outdoors, which we're trying to bounce off each other at the moment.
It's going mad at the moment.
Really good.
Listen, you fishermen out there, you've got to back me up because he has absolutely smoked me on the numbers.
Yeah, on the subscribers.
It's piling towards about 300,000. Well, I'm stuck on 150,000. What's that all about?
Come on, guys, get some more people over to TAFishing.
Exactly. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys.
We're going to watch the rest of this.
Grab some popcorn.
You brought some?
Yeah.
Morning, longest day born new. sorrow with the early dew. Come you endless morning, come and tell me what to do, 'cause I'd do anything if only you get me up and get me through. Oh, 'cause I